sex in her. And I can put you in. I can put you in.
Alright, so guys, so MYC Network started about 2 years ago from nothing, okay? And over a course of that 2 years, we've grown to about roughly 10,000 audience between different social platforms. Our community is probably a little bit over 1,500 people, and it's international, also domestic. And it's been a hell of a ride. We've rode the bull market together, and now we're gonna ride the bear market together. But what made all the money during that bull market was being prepared and getting those bottoms, so that way we could be ready for those upticks, you know? So I'm really happy with what we have going on. The success is there. And I wanted to introduce you guys to Captain America because he has an awesome story. Xavier also has an awesome story, so I'm gonna pull your ass up here too, you know. And but you know, for those of you that are new or you're still new to MYC, you know, we specialize in education on crypto, stocks, precious metals. We talk history. And you know, the main thing that separates us from the competition out there is the fact that we're the first ever and only comedy finance network on the planet, because we've known for decades that Jerome Bowles and Christine Lagarde are having interfinancial relations since the very beginning. We've known that these bankers are fork-tongued reptilian geckos. We've known this for a long time. They've been lying to us nonstop. We know. But look, I wanted to bring up Captain America because he has an awesome story to tell. And you know, when I first started in crypto, XRP was like the biggest thing for me. And you know, learning about layer ones and how they work, you know, I started learning about DeFi. I started learning that you could swap your platform coin into DeFi projects that have different token counts. And you know, what creates price action more than anything is scarcity. Now, XRP has 100 billion of a coin cap. 50% is locked up, but the other 50 billion is in circulation. Because of that, and because of that quantity, value stays somewhat suppressed. Now, the fact that, well, here's the thing, XRP is a utility token, and the best way to utilize that utility token is to swap that liquidity into these DeFi projects that have a lower token count. That way you could have a better probability of price action. And at a particular time, we found a token called SoloGenX that only had a 400 million coin cap, and we got into it at the same time that the US was going through a very inflationary period. And when this was going on, Solo, being its main thing was burning, it was deflationary. So we had two forces sending this thing on a rocket, okay? So I want to bring up Captain America. He's one of our members, and want to go ahead and I want to hear from the very beginning, okay? Yes. Go ahead, Steve.
How you guys doing? Good. I want to thank all you for coming, and I think you're in the right place. This is like rock bottom. If you get in now or you've been in, things are looking good. So a little bit about my story. I grew up pretty poor and worked my you-know-what off to be a millionaire at 40. And I had a couple lawsuits against me that I was in the right on both of them. And I lost both of them due to bad representation, crooked lawyers, who paid who, I don't know. But anyways, I was basically got divorced, was homeless, but I was kind of like smart homeless. I used to play poker professionally, semi-professionally, and I saw how the kind of broke poker players used to do it. They used to go to the spa, chill out all day, and then go play poker at night. So they didn't need a room. They would sleep in the lounge or whatever. So I did that for 2 years, working out, spa every day. 2 years. Then I got a job at Mohegan Sun Casino being a bellman grave shift. And I met this kid, Justin, not a kid, but you guys met him last time, Justin, my friend.
I remember Justin.
Justin, right? He's a great kid. Told me about XRP. So I'm like, let me check it out. So I got so involved that I got this headset in my ear 24/7, sleeping with it, right? Basically sleeping with it, listening to these YouTube videos. And it's all XRP, 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 XRP. So what I do? I'm chipping away, you know, dollar cost average XRP. Got it to about 75,000 XRP. And then I had like VChain and, you know, Gala, a bunch of other ones. So probably at this point, I've been listening to Dion for about a year, I think. And all his picks, I would buy some like MoneyGram and Santander, whatever. I made money on everyone. So I'm like, dude, I want to join the network. So he goes, all right. So how you gonna do it? I go, he goes, what are you gonna use? I go, the standard. Remember that?
Yeah.
You're a legend. So then I think what really happened was with all this pandemic bullshit scamdemic and all the masks and everybody fucking telling me you can't do this, you can't do that. I just got, and probably the Black Label, Johnny Walker, made me just be super aggressive. And when Dion said check out Solo, Dion said check out Solo, I'm like, I checked it out, and every pick he told me was winners. Every time I made money, so I'm like, you know what? And she's tech babe. Ruby, my wife, is tech babe. I know what to do, but if I get on the phone or computer, I can't do shit. So I go, baby, here you go. Put all this XRP into Solo, and it was about 17 cents at the time. And XRP was like around 70, something like that, cents, I think. So I bought 75,000 XRP for the Solo. And then it went down to 11 cents. And I'm like, fuck. What do I do? So I'm like, you know what, baby? Sell the VChain, sell all that, put it into Solo, right? So I'm basically almost maxed out just Solo. It went down to 6 cents. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, oh shit. I guess I'm gonna keep working. So then all of a sudden, so my portfolio was like at 150,000. It got to about 350 with the Solo, and it was still going. I said, baby, pack the car up, we're out of here. Head back to Miami, and then within a month or two, I had like $6 million portfolio. 6 million. Unfortunately, I didn't listen to Dion when he said, you better de-risk.
Yeah.
So, but what I did do was I took about 10 of his picks and dumped 100,000 here, 100,000 there, 900,000 here, and just spread it out over 10. So that's basically it. And now here I am, and we're looking for some green candles.
That was the fastest story I've ever heard, Captain America.
Hey, I haven't been drinking yet.
That is true. So, going to be is learning what the supply will be. You know, that's really important to scalability. So if you're looking at a pick, and this is basically what I'm trying to get out to the people is, you know, use websites like CoinGecko, LiveCoinWatch, or whatever other search engines are out there so that we could learn about the tokenomics of that project, or learn about, you know, learn about how many coins are in the supply through the white paper, or whatever the case may be. But what's going to drive price action is scarcity. And everybody knows supply and demand, right? So, you know, XRP, this is probably the worst marker that I've ever seen in my life, but, you know, let's just kind of use what I have, okay? This has 100 billion of a coin cap. So because it's a layer 1 with this much in supply, it's going to have low volatility, and it's used more as a store of value, okay? Which is good, and that's kind of the way I use my layer 1s. You know, if it's a layer 1 and it has a bigger supply, I use that as a store of value because it typically will have less volatility, and it's more of a savings account for me personally, okay? Now, Solo, this particular pick that we were talking about, it was tokenizing ETFs, so we all liked it and stuff like that, you know, and whenever we come up with a pick or whatever the case, you know, and mind you, that's not, you know, whenever we're talking different companies, you know, it's not like, all right, you know, everybody let's go here, everybody go there. It's never going to be like that. Everyone has different picks and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, we still want to at least have people understand what drives scalability and, you know, have the awareness of what companies are out there, so that way we could hone in on what are the best things out there. You know, we've learned about over 100 pick stocks, crypto, and things of that nature. And you're not going to get all of them, but, you know, because we have such a good network and because we share data amongst ourselves, we could learn whatever we like best. And, you know, everyone kind of does their own thing. However, in this particular case, worked extremely well. I'm going to rewrite this. For Captain America, okay, so XRP is this circle, okay? When the DeFi projects are launched on top of XRP, they're located within the ecosystem, okay? So this might be XRP, but Solo is right here, okay? Or if you guys have heard of Casino Coin, CSC, right? So Casino Coin's operating on top of the XRP layer 1, okay? And what's going on is when you launch a token on top of a layer 1, or you launch a token on top of the ecosystem, you're backing that token with XRP liquidity. Because when it comes to developing a currency or developing a project on top of whatever project, or developing a project on whatever coin that you have, you're gonna need something to back it, okay? Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I was like, I gotta keep like redoing this day to day. Okay, and the reason why we go through this exercise is just that way people understand, you know, what they're actually buying, you know. And the reason why we want to do that is because whenever people first get into crypto, it's just like, okay, what's this pick and what's that pick and all that stuff, but you don't really know where, like, what it does, where it's coming from, what liquidity is backing it, you know. And liquidity is important to understand because liquidity is what backs the token. Okay, so a token could be worthless, but until you back it with liquidity, US dollars, or whatever the case may be, that's what creates the value, okay? So, for instance, in this particular case, so XRP, the layer 1, has 100 billion coin cap, and Solo only had a 400 million coin cap, okay? So because it only had a 400 million coin cap, this was gonna drive scalability because of scarcity. And because there was scarcity, we knew that this thing was gonna rocket. So when we got into it, I think when we were all like talking about it, I think call was around 5 cents, 5-6 cents. And you know, we have people of different sizes and net worth. You know, I've seen people from starting from 2,000 up to 8 million portfolios. You know, we all kind of like congregate together and talk about all sorts of stuff, you know. But I remember a particular somebody that was so bullish on this goddamn pick. He ended up dropping enough to get about 500,000 of these goddamn things, and he took 70,000 to $6 million. Fucking crazy, you know. And he's here with us today, and that's Captain America. He's done awesome, you know. He's one of our success stories, and you know, the reason why we bring this up is like, yeah, you know, we know Solo is a good pick or whatever the case, but you know, at the end of the day, what led us to understand that it was a good pick is what we're trying to teach people. We're trying to teach people the scarcity of tokens, okay? Now, this doesn't mean that, you know, when something scales up, the price will hold. It just means that it has that scalability. We need everybody to understand that there are cycles to these tokens. A lot of people, you know, when they do an investment or whatever the case, they have this idea that it's like, okay, it's just forever gonna stay up, but it's not. You know, you have a bull market and a bear market, and you will have a cycle. So, you know, it's best to take ROI when you are having those peaks, especially if you're in an inflationary environment. How do you know you're in an inflationary environment? Well, what's the value of the US dollar? At this time that Solo was on its run, the US dollar was worth about 93 to 94 cents. So we knew that we were in an inflationary environment. After doing our own research on Solo, we knew it was deflationary because every transaction was burning tokens. So we knew that we had two things helping the scalability, excuse me, the scalability of that token. It was called at 5 cents, it rode up to about $6.98. It was about 140x. You know, so this is just one of those success stories. Another success story that we have would be something like Matic. Matic was a pick that one of our other members actually called, and that thing I think is over 200x at the time, but I think I was out the back door at like 100x. I'm just too greedy, you know. but you know, let's use the same example on Matic. Okay, Matic is now Polygon or whatever the case, but you know, in this same scenario, Matic was operating on top of ETH, and there's a company running on top. You see. And we want people just to understand that there's two different things happening between different picks. You know, you might think of, and you could use Bitcoin. You could use it as an example as well, except people wonder why Bitcoin keeps rising so much. Well, Bitcoin only has a 21 million supply, and that's why it has that scalability. People ask me, Dion, how come you're not bullish enough on Bitcoin? Well, you know, because the growth to risk ratio isn't there for me. You know, personally, you know, I'm not a big whale, you know, so I'm not going to tie up $30,000 or $60,000 of my capital to hope for 2x, you know, or whatever the case. I'd rather accumulate multiple tokens to accumulate multipliers or whatever the case, because, you know, think about how many multipliers I could get. Like, what? Let's say, you know, XRP. The last time I checked, how much was it worth? 36 cents, something like that.
31 cents.
Okay, so I could get massive amounts of tokens on XRP versus spending 30,000, holding up 30,000 just for 2x, you know? So the multipliers on some of these other altcoins could merit more ROI, and that's kind of what I want to get out there, because typically when people get into the market, and mind you, we have a lot of people that like Bitcoin too, but at the end of the day, when people look at the growth to risk ratio, they're like, well, it's not really there for me. You know, we want to accumulate as many tokens as possible so that way we can return that ROI to ourselves later on down the line as it grows. I'd rather get into an investment at the bottom of the market, at the emerging market, before it develops, than it being at plateau or it being in the middle or whatever the case. I remember when our company, we've talked to different company owners out there that want to launch a token. And they always ask us, you know, what tokens can you launch on? Oh, we can launch on Binance, ETH, TRX, and XRP, okay? And they always say, well, what do you think is the best platform to launch your token on top of? And, you know, for me, I'm like, well, you know, for user base, you know, Binance seems to be the one with the most user base and or ETH, okay? But there has been growth in those systems already. So, you know, for me, if I was a company owner, I would want to launch my token project on something that's emerging or something that's still in growth phase, so I could grow with the layer one. So, for instance, you know, my own currency that we launched on Tron. Tron at the time was only 2 cents. Now it's 7 cents. So my token economy is going to grow with that layer one. See, because my coin may be operating right here, and TRX is this big circle, whatever the case, but this big circle was only worth 2 cents at the time, and now it's worth 7. You know, there were people that were launching projects on ETH or whatever the case at like $2,000 or $3,000 ETH. So they're already, you know, launching at the midway. You know, so for me, when it comes to launching, I want to be at the very bottom of the market so I can grow with that company. You see what I'm saying? But again, that same strategy should be implemented into what you're buying as well. How much development has happened in this ecosystem? You know, ETH is pretty well developed, pretty much all these projects running on top of it. So what other layer ones are out there that don't really have that many projects running on it yet? So that's just certain things to look after. We got 5 minutes till the food comes out, so we'll just take a minor break, let the food come out, we'll eat, have some fun, and then when we get back, I want to say about 8:30, we'll have Blockchain Monkeys. He's a content creator as well, and he's just been really awesome. And you know, one thing you'll take away from him is just his explosive, positive energy. And I met him actually just watching his videos, just like he met.
You actually met me. I was in your chat one time.
Yeah.
You thought I might have been a troll or something. I'm like, no, I'm real, motherfucker.
No, yeah. You know what? You're right.
Then we got cool. Yeah.
I was doing a live stream, and I thought he was trolling me, and I'm like, man, fuck this guy, you know. Yeah, but he was like, no, man, I really like what's going on. You know, real recognizes real. I was like,
yes.
Oh, okay. But you know, so we ended up meeting just like online, stuff like that, and then we just kept contact. We did some videos together, and when I was doing this event, I was like, bro, you got to come out, and here he is.
Yeah.
You know, and I know he has an awesome story too, so we'll get to that when we get back from eating and stuff like that. But let's just hang out, enjoy yourselves for now, and then we'll go from there, all right?
Thanks.
All right. 1, 2, 1, 2. Mic check. Mic check. Think it's working. It's working. I think we're good, right? Okay, you guys hear me? We're good. All right, guys. I want to bring up Blockchain Monkeys. He is a brother from another mother. He's been awesome, full of energy, and you know, I'm just happy that he took the time to come out here and party with us. I mean, have a great professional educational purposes only. So introducing Blockchain, he has his own YouTube channel, Instagram, and all that. Come on over, bro.
Thanks, brother.
On it.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Before I say anything, Dion, I want to give you like a huge thanks for setting this up. This is absolutely amazing. Like I truly deeply appreciate this because I don't do stuff like this all the time. Really, really appreciate this. So, just a little bit about myself. Grew up a foster kid without my mother, without my father. Due to foster care systems to about the age of 8 to about 18. And then I was out on my own. So I had a really rough childhood growing up. Like, life was horrible growing up as a child, but you know, as I grew up, learned some things, made a lot of mistakes. I learned. 6 years in prison, you know, had a mother who was a drug addict, drug induced, didn't have a father who was ever present. Had a lot of issues growing up, had a lot of mental issues growing up, fought through all that. Now I'm gonna skip to crypto, just to give you a little context of where how I grew up as a child, not like the typical person. How I got into crypto, I was doing online marketing, selling digital products online. A mentor of mine named Darren Gaudry, he kept throwing this Bitcoin documentary at me. He was doing online marketing for the longest time, and I'm like, why is he throwing this trash in my face? You know what I mean? Because I'm seeing the picture of the Bitcoin, the shiny coin. I'm like, this looks like fake internet money to me. So finally one day, after about the 4th time he showed it to me, I was like, let me watch it. I watched the documentary, and after I watched the documentary, I didn't go to sleep for 3 days. I mean, I could not sleep. I'm just like, what? Just searching and just learning and growing, you know what I mean? So, finally got involved with it, and I like, yo, thank you. And I said, I'm sorry to get in sooner, because I kept blowing it off. So, start learning about cryptocurrencies, got wrecked like crazy. I mean, you gotta think, this was 2017, so the scams were coming, one after another. And you would think someone would quit after getting scammed after the 5th time. Kept going. Kept going. Kept going. Wasn't telling my family nothing was going on.
That's called crypto addiction.
Addiction, yeah. Wasn't telling my family nothing about what was happening. I wasn't telling my family anything. And I'm just sitting there with a straight face. You know, my girl, my baby's mom with my kids, and I'm just like inside, going crazy. I had no idea what was happening. So, start doing my research and start learning use case, utility, tokenomics. Is there a real use case here? Is this a hype coin? You know what I mean? So, but what that taught me was I'm able to decipher coins really, really easy now. Like within like 5 minutes, no joke. So, start getting some wins under my belt. Start seeing, seeing profit, taking profits. Like, yes, finally. You know what I mean? Running into guys like Dion, running into guys like Digital Asset Investor. One of the coins that I got into first was VeChain. And the thing about VeChain is when I got into VeChain, I was going through a serious child custody case during that time. So, and then I also got into Matic. Now listen to this, time is going by, right? I'm paying my lawyer fees, trying to invest in crypto. Paying child support, trying to invest in crypto. So I'm like, let's put this over with. You know what I mean? So this isn't really a chance, but I had the chance to watch Matic go to the moon. But I had to take my Matic out before it went to the moon, and I had to pay child support, lawyer fees out the ass. I went through 3 lawyers for this case. That's what I went through. I did not want to take the money out of crypto. You know, some people just play with their money. No, I didn't want to touch it. I had to touch it because of life situations. So I'm taking this money out, paying my lawyer or whatever, watching my price go up, going nuts. I'm getting thank yous on Instagram I'm getting thank yous on Twitter from people. Thank you, bro. You made me a millionaire.
I know that fucking feeling. Fuck.
Sick.
If we could trade places.
Totally sick. I mean, over and over again, yo, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm like, that's what's up. Hell yeah, go. Meanwhile, on the inside, like,
Dying up.
dying.
Ugh.
So this is what I'm going through. You know what I mean? And then, you know, as time went on, I got my son back after 4 years of fighting this girl. Thank you.
Congratulations, bro.
You wouldn't believe it, but after I got my son back, do you know me and the child's mother didn't talk for the 4 years, the whole time? When I got my son back, when the new judge that I got once the new judge heard what I went through to fight for my son, this new judge didn't even complete the whole trial. He said, give him his son back, come back in 6 months. You know what I mean? So the first thing my child's mother said to me when we got on the phone after, because we had to speak, because you know, my child, she said, can you please not tell Elijah what happened? I said, you put me through all of this hell. I said, there's no way he's not going to find out. I'm not going to be like, hey, here's Elijah, this is what your mom did. But he's going to read about it in the book that I'm writing. I'm writing a whole book of everything, every single thing I had to go through. I'm not coming after you. I'm not doing anything wrong. But I'm writing. This is getting out. Because I suffered like hell. You know what I mean? To get to this point. I'm telling my story. So that's out. We're cool now. That's under the water. But what I'm saying is this. I had a friend. His name's Ibeen. I went to high school with him. I went to get my car fixed one day at auto mechanic, and I saw him there. He said to me, he said, yo, I'm like, what's going on with your son or whatever? Because he was fighting for his son like me, because I'm like, anybody's fighting for the son. Let's unite, fathers. He said, yeah. He said, I quit because baby mom was putting me through too much. As soon as he said he quit, his baby mom was putting too much, I said, I quit you too, bye. Never talked to him again. Never spoke to him again. Because I take pride in my son. I hear so many stories of dads, regardless of the situation, not being able to fight for the son. Okay, say you got to miss a couple of hearings. Say you can't go to court as fast as you want to go. But please don't quit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I had to go through that. So I've been through the foster care system. I've been through all that. But here now, I see the winds coming. You know what I mean? One after another, winds coming. And it just says, regardless of whatever you're going through in life, just stay with it, stick through it, because you're eventually gonna win. There's no way you're not. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's no way you're not gonna win if you continue on, regardless of what the situation is. So I just want to say that. And as far as like crypto investing, one of the things I really, really, really take a look at, their white paper, and a coin may be doing good today. Next week it could be down in the dumps. One thing you have to do is you have to stay on top of the information regarding that coin. Whatever tokens that you're invested in, you need to stay on top of it the whole time you're invested in it. Because something could happen in the background you have no idea, no clue about.
Yep.
You're sitting there all happy, yeah, my coin's up 50%, 2,000%, or whatever. Something could be happening with the government to slash your coin. So stay on top of that. This crypto space is like a lot of people think we're late because of Bitcoin going crazy, and we are not late at all. We're not late at all. Like, we're so early, we're so fresh, we're so right. I just did a video yesterday on Algorand. Algorand just did a strategic partnership with FIFA. The soccer, the football. Sylvia McCallie, touring award winner. You know what I mean? So there's so much shit out here in this space that you have to do your due diligence. Like, you have to, because if you don't do you're just gonna get wrecked. And then you're gonna leave. I saw so many people in 2017 leave this space and never return.
Oh yeah.
Never return. I felt like a ghost. About 2019, I'm like, where they at? Because you know this is the future. One of the big reasons that made me stay is when I heard Bank of America have 90 blockchain pads. What are you doing with 90 blockchain pads? The space isn't going anywhere.
Oh yeah, there's a Ripple partner too.
You know, and there's a Ripple partner. So just giving you some things to pay attention to, but this space is right, and I really thank you guys again. That's my story.
You know, and you know what's crazy is like Blockchain Monkeys is the most positive person that I've met. In the
For as much shit as I've been through, and the most.
That was really what drew me to him more than anything, you know. And he has I knew he had a big story somewhere in there.
You just didn't hear that part yet. No, you're like, fuck. I saw your face. You're
Yeah,
like,
I was like, this man's
fuck.
like 100x positive. I mean, he has to be fighting, you know, for everything, you know. And it's crazy. You don't know what people are going through until you really hear the background story. The tribulations that they go through, and you know, this space has really brought together a variety of different people that I've met, and it's always going to be inspiring to me. You know, I've even myself, you know, I didn't really have that much money growing up. You know, my family was always kind of poverty stricken. My mom and dad, or my mom was always crying over bills and things of that nature. Really brought me to get as educated as I can to always stay ahead of the market and continuously develop myself and those around me. I'm really proud of our community in general, not only for our results, but for the diligence that we all have taken to study each and every coin that we come across. There's money to be made everywhere. There's no doubt about that. I think that we're going to continue doing really well. I think that going into 2023, we'll do even better. Right now, I wouldn't really say ROI is in mind. I think ROI was in Q4 of 2021, and right now we're more along the lines of accumulation. What I've been doing to hedge myself during this type of turbulence is making sure that I'm in staker tokens. You know, we're going to have volatility no matter what we do. So if you guys are in the crypto market, one of the things that I've been doing has been, and keep in mind, there's staker tokens everywhere. As long as you're getting some sort of APY while we're sitting, it's going to do better for you in the long run, because eventually you do run out of cash flow. Eventually you don't have a lot of money to work with as you DCA. So when you're getting into those passive income positions, it's always good to suffer knowing that you're accumulating tokens during the downturn. I don't think we're going to have a V-shaped recovery. I think we're going to have more of a very big ass cut. You know, right now the US dollar is about roughly 103 cents, so it's going to be weighing asset prices down. Gold has been going down as well because of interest rates. We're seeing a stronger dollar, so that's of course going to bring down the metal market. But we should be taking advantage of these bear markets. There's money to be made both in a bull market and a bear market, and the biggest values are always found during the downturns, because the downturns are what creates the ROI. It's what creates the multipliers. So it's best that we get in now more than ever and accumulate and DCA as we go, and make sure we're elongating those DCAs. A lot of times I do see a lot of people jumping in and putting everything in all at once. I highly recommend elongating your strategy until we go into more of an inflationary time. Right now we're in a deflationary moment in the markets and more inflationary inside the economy. Now, in the news we constantly hear that inflation is going rampant and there's nothing we can do about it, right? But inflation's not in the markets, okay? Inflation is in the economy. That's why we're seeing high gas prices, high housing, pretty much high everything, okay? But with the DXY being at 103, you're going to see asset prices caving in, and that's why we're seeing the metal market cave in as well. I think that Jerome Powell's, he's going to end up either folding, he's going to end up taking walks back. In the last conference that he had, and one before it with Christine Lagarde, it's the IMF chairman there, he was basically saying that 75 BPS points was off the table and he was going to stay at the 0.50 BPS. Now, during the last Fed conference, he did state that if we did get too much of a fracture, that he would walk back to 0.25 BPS and not 0.50 BPS, okay? What you should be taking away from that statement is the fact that he will walk it back. If the market fractures too much and he doesn't get the soft landing that he wants, he's going to end up expanding the balance sheet. If you guys take a look at the gold price versus the Fed balance sheet, you'll see that the Fed balance sheet keeps expanding, gold price keeps trading sideways. You can tell that there's manipulation happening. But according to the BIS, they said that there's a 5-year implementation process for gold standard from 2023 to 2028. Okay? They're forecasting high inflation in the markets. If you take a look at that chart, gold price versus Fed balance sheet, gold price continuously tethers to the Fed balance sheet since the 80s. So because there's such a differentiator where gold's at the 400% and then the Fed balance sheet's at roughly 1200%, that's a 4x gap between gold and where the Fed balance sheet is. If gold is continuously supposed to tether, 3x. If gold is supposed to tether to the Fed balance sheet regardless, that means that there's growth to be had, but also that aligns with the BIS forecast of gold standard implementation process. They're forecasting 5 years of inflation. If you take a look at the Dow, and you could go back to even around the Bush era, the Dow at that time, it went from 7,000 to 14,000. We had a crash. They print. We went to 29,000, and then around that time Trump was in office. Crashed again. We went to 21,000. 2T trend. A 2T print. From the time Obama printed and Trump, you have 800 billion with Obama and 2 trillion with Trump. Okay. When Obama printed, we went from $7,000 Dow to 29,000. And then crashed to 21. At 21, that's when Trump was in office. 2 trillion was printed. We're only at a $31,000 Dow. So that being said, I feel that we could potentially see, with inflationary times, we could see probably a $40,000 to $60,000 Dow. This is aligning with what I was talking about with the BIS. Everyone's forecasting inflation to hit the markets heavy. So we may have interest rates going up now. We may have a deflationary dollar weighing asset prices down, but that's only going to last for so long. If you take a look at the cycles in the Dow, we only went through 1 to 2 years of deflation before having 5 years of inflation, which again lines up with the BIS statement of a 5-year inflationary process. So the fact that we are looking at a strong dollar, we need to understand that that's only going to last so long, and we need to utilize that buying power to scoop up these assets at good prices. One more thing that I want to say on this as well, the bond market, okay? The bond market is due to cave in. The bond market's, I think, at 2.9 on the 30-year, and then 2.7 on the 5-year, or I'm sorry, on the 30-year, it's 2.9, and then on the 10-year, it's 2.7, okay? When a bond market crashes, a lot of people think that everything else is going to crash. That's not what's going to happen. And now, you know, I never want to say not. I never want to be definitive when I'm doing forecasts, but using a case study back in 1994. 1994, we had a big bond crisis where the bonds crashed. When bond markets crashed, the currencies devalued. So the things that we need to be paying attention to as we go forward into this bear market is the bond market and the US dollar. When the US dollar goes down in value, you can expect that assets will rise in value, but also on top of that, you need to pay attention to the bond market, because if the bond market crashes, which is what everyone is talking about, and also a common effect with the recession, which everyone is talking about, if the bond market crashes, which is US dollar debt, then the currency value will also depreciate. There's a lot of things that are telling us that the next thing that's going to crash is not the markets, but the dollar. Go into a crypto-related incident on this, but I think Japan might have a bigger influence on this bond market crashing and the currency devaluing. Japan has the most US dollar debt. So right now, the yen has been really hurting, like, because the dollar is deflating, it's hurting the Japanese economy. Japan holds the most US dollar bonds, so it's actually in their best interest to dump their bonds and devaluing the dollar to sustain a proper price. And if you guys have been paying attention to the IMF, they've been talking about price stability. They're talking about currencies. Don't forget the US dollar is the baseline which all assets are measured. So because of that, all these other currencies are tethered to the US dollar, the yen, the yuan, the euro. The euro market is also being disrupted by the dollar deflating. So we need to pay attention to what happens with this bond market and what the catalyst will be. But I think if it's not our own dollar caving in, it'll be these other countries doing it for us to devalue that currency in order to put out that price stability, okay? Besides that, okay, besides these other governments that could potentially lower the value of our currency, I'm also anticipating stable coins to have a catalyst effect on the US dollar. The reason why is because these stable coins have been utilizing US treasuries in order to keep their peg at $1. If these stable coins keep getting depegged, they're going to continuously dump US dollar bonds, and that's what they've been collecting. So if these stable coins start dumping off US bonds, we could see a catalyst event from the stable coins themselves, and I think that's exactly why the US is looking to regulate these stable coins, because they see that it can rupture the market. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys, just to keep your eye on bond market, US dollar, keep an eye on Japan, and then keep an eye on what's going to happen with these stable coins, because they are collecting US dollar bonds. And for us to be at 2.9, think about it. If bonds, okay, when an investor invests in a bond, you're letting the US essentially borrow money, and you're expecting interest in return. So you're going to get paid on your interest. If inflation is roughly what they're saying, anywhere between 8 to 12%, I'm thinking 14%. But let's say from the baseline between 8 to 12% inflation. If bond yields on a 10-year bond is only going to pay you 2.7, and a 30-year is going to pay you 2.9, inflation is eating both your principal and your interest as a bond investor. So people were saying, oh my gosh, the bond market's going to collapse because it's just, it's because it's, you can tell it's going to rupture, it's at the very bottom and all these things. But no, I just think it's just a bad deal. If inflation is going to eat up your principal and your interest, why, if the Fed, well, first off, the Fed's not investing in it. They said they're not purchasing bonds anymore. So if the Fed's not doing it, I don't expect a retail investor to do it either. So I think the next thing that's going to pop is the bond market. And if the bond market pops, and if it's anything like 1994, then we're going to have an extreme currency devaluation. Now, when people think of a dollar crash, they think it's going to go to zero. But when I think of a dollar crash, I'm thinking anywhere between a 10 to 20% decline. That's going to send assets on a fucking rocket. And that's what we're waiting for. If you guys take a look from 2008 to 2010, you'll notice that the US dollar was valued between 85 cents to about 90 cents, and all stocks were rocketing. We need to utilize inflation and deflation to our benefit, and the only way we're going to know that is by watching these two markets. So guys, like Thomas Jefferson said, the bankers are utilizing inflation and deflation for their own benefit. We need to work like bankers and also do the same thing. So pay attention to those two markets. Thank you guys for coming. I'm very bullish on the sentiment going forward. I just think that right now is not the time for ROI. ROI, what should have been taken early Q1 or late Q4. But from this point going forward, I think now is accumulation period and making sure that you're in position for passive income and passive staker tokens. That way, even in the midst of our suffering, we are accumulating tokens even if we don't have the cash flow. Okay? So guys, what do you got?
What do you think about foreign countries hating being controlled by the US dollar? And what are they doing that might affect the whole macro type? You know what I mean?
What were you saying?
Because other countries need the dollar to buy oil. They can't do it in rubles or Saudi, whatever the money is. They have to use the dollar. And they hate that, being controlled by the dollar. What do you think they're doing in the background to try to the dollar?
Okay, so this goes back to what I was saying about the yuan or the yuan, or I'm sorry, the yen or the euro. A lot of these countries' market stability is disrupting because the US dollar is overvalued. The dollar is supposed to be 100 cents or below. The world actually needs a weaker dollar in order for trade to work more efficiently. So what's happening right now with the dollar being at 103, and it could go higher with interest rates scheduled for the rest of the year, this could still cause more turmoil for these other countries, which is why I'm watching Japan. Japan holds the most U.S. bonds, the most U.S. treasuries. So
But they're an ally. I'm talking about the countries that hate us. You know what I mean?
Well, put it this way, like when I think of central banks, and they're all the same to me, and I think all countries are the same. There's no doubt in my mind that we're already in a one world government. Every country, every continent has a central bank, and they all operate with each other, and they all strategize with each other. So because the U.S. dollar is the baseline for all assets, and keep in mind, fiat is assets, okay? If the U.S. dollar is at an overvaluation, it's disrupting the yen, it's disrupting the yuan, it's disrupting the euro. So it's in the world's best interest for a weaker dollar for better global trade. So because of this, I see, and I'm watching different countries based on their U.S. bond holdings, and with Japan being the one that's hurting the most. Mind you, recently the Prime Minister of Finance said that they're stopping the purchasing of bonds. I think that it's in Japan's best interest to actually dump their bonds, not to hurt the U.S., but just to save their economy. So it's not to say that they're doing it against us in a malice way. It's just it makes more sense. So if they are our ally in all that sense, it wouldn't surprise me that the central bankers, would actually coordinate that for other countries to dump U.S. bonds to create price stability. If you guys have been watching the IMF or the World Economic Forum or anything like that, they have been talking about stabilizing price. And when they're talking about price stability, they're talking about the US dollar valuation as opposed to these other fiat systems. So that's why I'm watching Japan. I'm also watching these stable coins since they are collecting US treasuries. If they need to save their peg as a stable coin, we all saw what happened with UST, right? Everyone saw that? UST dumped the entire market and all this other stuff, but in order for like Tether, and I don't think UST was doing it, but Tether is the next biggest one. Tether has been losing its peg here and there. They've been covering the peg, but they have been collecting U.S. bonds.
How are they printing Tether with what? How are they legally printing Tether, and we're using Tether to buy our coins here and there?
So it's based on their smart contract. So when you launch a token, you could have it where it's black hole, or you can have it basically where it has a cap supply, where it's a POS system. You have it with it, or you have it if it's a proof of work, or you could have it built into the contract when you could just keep printing tokens. See, when you have a coin or a project that could print tokens, you could print more supply, but what's happening is that token still, if it's taken out, removes liquidity backing that token. So the liquidity is really what we're after. The tokens are really more or less irrelevant. It all depends on how much liquidity is backing that token in order for there to be an exchange made, for a transaction to be completed, okay? So for instance, if there's no liquidity inside the pool and you're trying to sell your tokens, you're not going to be able to divest those tokens to get the liquidity in the US dollar value because there's no, yeah, exactly. So because there's nothing there to back it. So like I was saying, the one thing that I'm paying attention to besides geopolitics with Japan, and I'm not saying they're enemies, I'm just saying that it literally makes a lot of sense for them to dump US bonds. They have the biggest holding. They can afford to dump bonds because
it'll help them.
It'll help them, and it'll also create price stability globally. So I think it's actually in the best interest of the world, for global trade, for them. I think that could happen. I don't know if it will, but I am paying attention to that. But besides that, in the crypto world, I'm paying attention to the stable coins because Tether backs its peg in order to keep it at that dollar, because if too many people take liquidity out of Tether, it could go to 99 cents, it could go to 98 cents like what happened with UST. They don't want there to be a collapse. So what Tether has been doing is they've been buying a bunch of different assets to back Tether to keep it at a dollar, but if too much depegging happens, they'll dump those assets to prop up that peg. if Tether starts dumping a shit ton of US bonds, and who knows how many bonds they bought, it's a very large market cap. It's about 70 billion of a market cap last time I checked. So if they have a bunch of US bonds backing Tether, and Tether gets attacked or they lose their peg and they dump a bunch of bonds, and keep in mind, bonds or debt is the backing of a fiat. So if you dump all of those things, you're essentially dumping confidence in that debt. So once you're dumping that, they could also have a catalyst effect in the devaluation of the USD. So there's just a lot of different things that I'm paying attention to in regards to dollar devaluation, which will lead the next bull run. When it'll happen, I don't know, but at this time, we're watching an overvalued US dollar disrupt global markets and also disrupt the stock market, the crypto market, and the metal market. So it's actually in the world's best interest somewhere, I don't know where it'll be, to devalue the USD. When this happens, that's when you're gonna see higher inflation. Another thing to pay attention to is Janet Yellen. Janet Yellen is the US Treasurer.
Oh, nightmare.
Yeah, I know.
Good.
And terrible haircut as well.
That haircut, no.
Yeah. Janet Yellen also has been saying that she's in favor of removing the debt ceiling. Okay. Yeah. So if she were to remove, the debt ceiling, put it this way. So, and here's what's kind of cool about the system that we live in, as opposed to the way a token operates. When you have a capped supply on a token, okay, and supply gets taken up, scarcity happens. When scarcity happens, price scalability happens, okay? Once people collect enough tokens, and let's say there's only so many tokens, price starts to get more expensive because scarcity happens, right? Is everybody following me? Okay, so when that happens, the price goes up on a token when scarcity happens. The same thing happens with the US dollar. The government has a debt ceiling, and debt is another term for how much supply how much supply of the US dollar is in the system. When they have a debt ceiling, that means that compression happens, and that compression makes the dollar go up in value, the same way a token does. Janet Yellen is talking about removing the debt ceiling. Think about that. If we remove the debt ceiling, that creates unlimited supply. And when you have unlimited quantity, it goes back to supply and demand. And supply and demand means if there's an overextension of supply, if there's an unlimited supply, then there's no scarcity. So what does that mean to the US dollar once they remove that debt ceiling? It's gonna go down. And that's why it's so important to hedge your wealth in other assets other than just the US dollar. That's why we have stocks, precious metals, crypto, real estate, and whatever else is out there.
Tits.
Tits, correct. but these are just certain things that I want you guys to pay attention to as we go forward, you know, because it's only a matter of time. There's every which way reason as to the next thing to fall is the dollar. Is it going to crash to zero? I doubt that, but I do believe that it will be devalued at some point, one way or the other, and I'm thinking maybe probably 10 to 20%. Let's say if we're reminiscent to the Bush era when we had the last recession, okay? In the last recession, we were at roughly 85 cents. So it was like a 15% decline. We had a rocket ship in stocks from 2009 to 2012. We're talking about going into another recession, and they're saying that might be worse. So I don't know what worse means, but let's say if it's reminiscent to the Bush era when we were going through that recession and we had a dollar devaluation. And don't forget, guys, look, the financial crisis of 08, that was the dollar crashing. And that's why stocks went through the roof. Silver was about $40 an ounce. Stocks were at all-time highs. Gas was $5, just like now. Housing was overpriced. And the reason why is because we had a devaluation in the USD. right now we have an overvaluation in the USD, but now the mainstream media is talking about a recession. So if we have another recession that's reminiscent of what we've already went through, we're looking at a dollar devaluation and we're gonna see another war happen.
I went through one, I don't know if you compared what's happening now to the late 70s, early 80s, when Carter was in office.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. I was very young, and the interest rates went to 16, 18%. There was gas lines, you couldn't buy gas on certain days if your license plate or whatever. And
Yeah.
I was so young, but I remember how broke we were.
Yeah,
and
like
how it
Hurricane
hurt,
Charlie and all
how
that,
it hurt
yeah.
us bad, you know. But do you see any I mean, have you?
I see like almost similar, like almost clone, like very reminiscent to what we went through in the Bush era happening now, except there's a few different things. I don't think we're gonna have a housing crisis because we're not, see, Airbnb wasn't here back then. Nobody was really utilizing residential homes as a business back then. Now they are. So even the homes that are going into, like, let's say when people can't afford, there's so much equity in homes that there's no foreclosure because they can just sell them. I don't think there's gonna be a housing crisis. I don't think we're gonna have a housing crash, but I do think that housing will continuously go up. But I also think that we're gonna have a devaluation in the USD, which creates that in itself. So I think no matter what we do, if we even, let's say, try to make it similar to what we've already been through, we're gonna look at a dollar devaluation at the very end of everything. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but there's a lot of different catalysts that could happen. It could be the stable coins, it could be Japan, it could even be China. China has a lot of US bonds as well. It could be a variety of things, really. But it could be Janet Yellen removing the debt ceiling. Yeah, it could be that. You know, those are some of the things that could be the catalyst to lower the USD. But the one that I've been paying attention to the most is the bond market. The bond market, is the way it sits, is a falling knife, and it's not because of anything other than the fact that it's just a shitty deal. Why would I lend you money to burn money? If inflation is 8 to 12%, they admitting 8.5%, and if the bond yield is 2.7 to 2.9, and I'm allowing to borrow, I'm trying to get 3% back, and inflation's 8%. I'm letting you borrow money to lose money. So that's what I'm saying. Who is going to invest in the bond market? So the bond market, if that shit crashes, which I think it will, we're looking at a dollar devaluation. And if the best case study that I could give you is the bond crisis of 1994. In 1994, we had a bond crisis. When the bonds crashed, we were at 80 to 85 cents a dollar. And that sent fucking assets on a rocket.
Yeah.
Right past your ass.
There it is.
All right, so guys, thank you so much for coming. You know, it has just been awesome. Again, like I said, you know, being the next 1% is not going to be a room full. Okay, it's never going to be saturated, and that's what we're talking about. We got 5 minutes, so I'll put you in.
Sounds like a cookie.
I appreciate it.
I got in about 5 drinks.
He's 8 drinks in. Oh shit.
I kind of ran into Dion through my friend here who got me into precious metals. Started looking into XRP from someone that I bought gold from. Like my first gold purchase put me onto XRP. I ran into Dion. And I kind of rode that solo wave. But one thing I do just really want to say is, you know, there's a lot of YouTubers out there, you know, you run into a lot of like just clown like commercial people. One thing I always realized about Dion was like he was a real person. Like before he even really knew me, I won a competition. I can't remember. I think it was for Curve. I won some kind of. I was supposed to be the 69th follower on IG. I was the 69th follower. I hit him up like, yo. He's like, yeah, I'll send you some CRV. I hit him up. He's like, wait, were you the 69th follower? And like, I really got in my feelings, and I started, you know, cursing him out and shit. He was like, hey yo, chill. Like, I'm just playing, man. Send me your address. So he sent me it. And that was like, you know, first experience. You know, I thought it was a scam competition. I thought he was gonna steal all my fucking Eve. I don't know.
Stole my mom.
But yeah, and then like ever since then, like there'd be times, you know, he'll say a certain wallet, and I'll hit him up like, yo, I'm kind of nervous about getting this wallet, like. And you know, it take me some time. I'll finally get it, and like, hey, I don't have enough gas for this, and he sent me a couple bucks for gas to get the transaction through. And he's just always been real like that. So that's one reason, like, I've stayed, you know, with MYC, and he does, like, you heard him today with, you know, the stuff that he talks, like he knows what he's talking about. So it's always good getting new insight and fresh insight from all those commercial people that are just fucking XRP, what is the fucking guy? I cooked the fucking ham today, guys.
I smoked the pot.
Yeah, I smoked the pot.
And my son had a baseball game last night, and he pitched a no-hitter.
So it's like, and then it's like even him, like, you know, I've commented on that guy's page back when I was fucking green. I comment on his shit, like hoping to get a reply back or some shit, nothing. But then, you know, Dion, I comment, oh man, that's good. I'll take a look into that. You know what I'm saying? And it's always been love. So that's all I wanted to say. Like I said, I rode that solo wave, so I appreciate you, Dion. And